Hi YouTube, I'm Jack, a junior doctor in London, and I finished my core surgical training. Today's video is about how to prepare for your core surgical training interview. I'll be talking about the structure of the interview itself, my opinion on courses, how to practice for the interview, and lastly, the easiest mistake to fix that could ruin your entire interview if you don't prepare for it. So stick around for that. Timestamps are somewhere up here, and as a disclaimer, I'm not being sponsored for anything, this is all my opinion. I'm not being paid by any courses. This year, the core surgical training interview will be online. It is a single 20-minute interview comprising a 10-minute management section and a 10-minute clinical section. Typically, the management section involves a presentation that you prepared beforehand. Normally that lasts about 3 minutes with some questions as well. You'll be given the topic of this before the interview itself, so you have some time to prepare it. Following that, there'll be a management question where you talk through a dilemma you might see in real practice. The clinical section looks at how you deal with an emergency and assesses whether you would be a safe surgical trainee. This is one of the incidences where I would recommend booking a course. I personally didn't attend a course for my core surgical training interview, but I did for my ST3 interview in ENT, and it completely transformed my performance. My main 3 reasons for doing a course are, firstly, most of us haven't done an interview since when we applied for medical school. And even then we probably didn't have that much training in interview technique. The most valuable thing to gain from a course is to have someone more experienced observe you and give you feedback. You can of course get free practice from surgical trainees. However, interview courses depend a lot on good feedback and good reviews, so they have a vested interest in producing good quality teaching. Secondly, most courses will provide you with a list of themes that tend to come up in interview, and this is really important as it tells you what to expect. Thirdly, if you're still on the fence about paying for one of these courses, think of it this way. If you have 2 identical candidates and one of them attends an interview course, they will do better than the one that doesn't attend a course. Now, it could just be because those who attend courses are more motivated, etc., etc. However, I have no doubt that doing a course not only scares you into preparing, but also gives you that little bit of extra teaching and practice. I actually used to work with an F2 who was really on the fence about booking a course. However, I suggested that he should probably do it. He then attended one and eventually secured himself a London run-through number. For those of you interested, the course he went to was on surgicalinterview.co.uk. I'll put a link in the description. Again, I'm not being sponsored, that's just the one he went to. Now you know which topics to practice, the next step is to actually do some practice. I recommend you find some other core surgical trainee applicants and form a practice group. Try to practice regularly. Ideally have some or a lot of that practice on Microsoft Teams, because that way you get to simulate the real interview and also you get to test out that your Microsoft Teams is working. The other people you can practice with are existing surgical trainees. They're a good option because they have done the interview before, of course, and succeeded. I would just say be mindful because they are usually quite busy trying to get into theatre and also trying to work on their own ST3 applications. So just work around their schedule. I would recommend that you do some practice alone, not just if you can't find anyone else to practice with, but because by practicing alone you can cover more topics yourself. The way I used to practice is to record myself answering an interview question, and then I would painfully watch that back. This allowed me to give myself feedback on talking speed, volume, etc. The other thing you could do to practice is to start a YouTube channel. Now this step is the easiest to prepare, but if you don't prepare it, then it could completely ruin your entire interview. And that is your computer and internet setup. During my training, I knew someone that had absolutely fantastic portfolio, interview, everything, all the surgical experience. However, when it came to interview, his internet connection wasn't secure, the interviewers couldn't hear him, and he didn't get his offer. Something like that is completely devastating because it's not because of your performance, it's because of the technology. So the 2 main things I would do are firstly to wear some earphones. This is actually recommended in the interview preparation email. And the reason for that is you can hear the interviewers as well as them being able to hear you because the microphone is closer to your mouth. So this is what it's like to speak without using earphones. And this is how it sounds to speak using earphones with a microphone attached. The second thing to do is to upgrade your broadband speed and get an Ethernet cable to connect to your laptop. This part is super important because an Ethernet cable will increase your internet speed anywhere up to 10+ times compared to Wi-Fi. When I was doing my online ST3 interviews, I was lucky to have fibre optic broadband in hospital accommodation, so I upgraded to the maximum level for a month and I got myself an Ethernet cable. And also because I use a MacBook Air, I had to buy this Thunderbolt adapter for like £20–25. As a result, I didn't have any real technical issues during my interview. If you really think about it, some of the interviewers could be using public Wi-Fi or NHS Wi-Fi to do their calls, so their end of the interview may not have the fastest internet speeds. The main thing is you don't want to be the limiting factor. Actually, there's a bit more to say about this topic, so I'll make a separate video about it. Next up, I'll make some videos on how to answer interview questions. I'll put those somewhere up here. Like and subscribe if you want to watch out for those. Leave any questions in the comments and I'll try to answer them. See you next time.